to study with some real teachers because my mother-in-law, as lovely as she was, she knew the superstitious forms of face reading. She didn't really know the principles behind it. So for her, it was all based on good luck and bad luck. And good luck means money, and bad luck means no money. And that's not what it's about at all, but that's a very common understanding of face reading. Face reading is actually an ancient branch of Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is 3,000 years old, and it evolved in a very different way than Western medicine did, but still totally valid. It's a science, but it's an Asian science. And what they did, basically, these ancient researchers, is that they went out and observed nature. They watched how plants grow, they watched the cycles of the seasons, how animals' lives went, how the times of day went. They began to develop and ended up developing a very sophisticated understanding of patterns in nature, which they then applied to human beings. Because amazingly, human beings are part of nature too. Did you know this? Astonishing. So face reading actually originally was a diagnostic tool. It was used in Chinese medicine because they began to see that there were patterns on the face that correlated with physical health issues, with certain illnesses, with tendencies for the body to work in a specific way, have specific problems. But as they started using it for diagnosis, they very soon came to recognize that these same patterns gave them information about someone's personality, how they tended to move through the world, their patterns of perception, their beliefs, how they would tend to respond to life, the people that they would meet in order to have healthy relationships, the kind of careers that they would feel fulfilled by. And so thousands of years ago in China, face readers were actually the original personal coaches and therapists. They were the ones that we went to figure out who to marry or who to do business with, or questions about life path. Your face is considered to be a reflection of your inner blueprint. The concept is that we're all born with a unique blueprint that is our spirit and that is our contract for our life. And the more you can understand how to read that blueprint, the more you can understand why your life has been unfolding in the way that it has, why you've been having issues in relationship or problems in career direction or any issues in life can be read in the patterns of your face. It's really, really quite remarkable. I often tell people I'm probably one of the more skeptical people you'll ever meet in your life. Very left-brained. And so for me to still be doing this after 30 years is quite something. But I wake up every day like it's Christmas because I get to work with people and learn even more. It's not that I have faith in it or that I believe in some kind of woo-woo face reading thing. It's proven to me every day by the things that someone says to me in response with a private reading, or in workshops where people's jaws drop open and go, oh my God, that's my husband. No wonder he's that way. Now I understand. So rather than what I originally thought face reading was, which was basically a very negative way of judging people, it's actually the complete opposite. It's a way to move through life in compassion. It's a way to, no matter who walks through that door, to be able to look at them and see who they really are and open your heart to them rather than react. We go through life judging. We go through life having reactions and interactions and little energetic exchanges with people based on who we are. And often we misperceive them. We misunderstand why they're feeling the way they are, why they're saying the things that they are. And so this can really open up a whole new world for you in understanding others. But for me, the most important thing is understanding self. Your face can tell you so much about who you are and who you came here to be. So every feature on your face has messages, many different messages. And the thing is, they found that we all read faces all the time. We just aren't really conscious of doing it. We read and react to the messages on people's faces. We think maybe it's intuition, or sometimes you have a natural aversion or attraction to someone. And that can be read. There's a reason for that happening. So I was just working with someone, for instance, and she was just flummoxed with one of her employees. He'd suddenly become so stubborn and resistant. He was digging his heels in it with everything. And she said, I can't understand the reason for this personality change. He didn't used to be like that. And I said, can I see a picture of him? And she pulls out a picture of this man with this gigantic goatee. And she said, yeah, it's really strange. He just grew this goatee. Well, The chin represents your potential for stubbornness. That's one of the things it represents. And so if you enhance the chin with facial hair, that enhances your stubbornness. It increases your stubbornness. And so this is the reason why. There's probably a reason why he grew the goatee. I mean, maybe he was feeling pushed around at home or at work, and so he unconsciously developed the need to make himself more stubborn. Men are lucky. They can play with facial hair. Most women can't. But we have makeup, so it all evens out. But also, you know, one of the reasons why I wrote my second book about reading your child's face was that so many times over the years, I would be doing consultations with couples or with families, and there would be an issue with one of their children where I could so easily see that they were completely misreading the situation. They weren't understanding who their child was. You know, so many of us as parents, on some level or another, at least in the early days of having our children, we kind of expect the child to be a little mini version of ourselves, a little mini me. And so we think that they're feeling a certain way because that's how we might feel. And it can be kind of crazy making to not see that come into play. If you can read your child's face, you can support their individual spirit and help them flourish in life. I'm thinking of the last time I was in Amsterdam, I did a face reading for a woman who'd just come to my workshop. I teach these 4-day workshops that train people to use this for the rest of their lives in their personal and professional lives. And at the end of the workshop, she came up to me and she said, "I'm having such an issue with my daughter. Can I bring her to see you for a face reading?" Most of the time when I work with parents about reading their children, I don't have the children come so that we can talk freely with them, but she really wanted her daughter to come. So they both came to see me. And I asked her mother at that point what the problem was, and she said, "Well, I know very well what the problem is. My daughter is trying to be the boss of me. There is a huge power play going on. I won't have it. She's showing me no respect at all." So I looked at the daughter, and she was about 9. The daughter's face was the classic archetypal face of the highly sensitive person. She had a large bony nose. She had kind of sculpted features, very, very pale skin, very, very tiny little wrists and bones, these are hallmarks of a child who's very, very sensitive. And my heart went out to her because I was already getting a sense that this child was being misunderstood. So I said to the mother, "Well, can you give me an example of this power play? Like, what is she trying to do?" And she said, "Oh, absolutely, bedtime, bedtime." So in order for her to go to bed, there's this long process where I have to read her exactly 3 stories. I have to, close the closet door, and then the drapes, and then pull the blankets up, and the blue blanket has to touch her chin, and the doll has to be by her ear, and the bunny has to be by her shoulder. And then, after all this long stuff, as I'm leaving, she demands that I leave that bedroom door exactly 50% open. "But," she said, "I close it tight, even though I hear her sobbing, because I know I'm teaching her respect." And I'm just like, "No!" She had misread the situation. This child was highly sensitive, and these features on the face indicate someone who notices more details than other people notice, who's kind of like a little psychic sponge. They're very, very sensitive to subtle energy, but they're also sensitive to visual details. A highly sensitive person like this is someone who, when they walk in the room, they'll immediately notice that the picture is half an inch crooked, and they'll not be able to stop from going over and straightening it. And that's who this daughter was. The reason she wanted the door exactly 50% open was that if it was 55% open, that was too much light. And if it was 45% open, that was too dark. And she wouldn't be able to calm herself and get to sleep. This routine was teaching her how to manage her sensitivity so that she could settle and go to sleep at night. Had nothing to do with trying to control her mother or trying to be the powerful person in the family. Now, to this mother's benefit, she really heard that when I was describing this situation to her, and she recognized these qualities in her daughter, and she made the change. It had gotten so bad, this mother said, that her daughter didn't want to spend any time with her anymore. She didn't want to be with her mother. She felt so judged by her mother. But I got a call from her 2 weeks later, and she said things had changed so drastically that the daughter was asking for special play dates with her mother. So they healed the relationship. That's all it took, was her mother honoring who she really was. But if we hadn't caught it in time, that could have gone on and built momentum and created this big problem that, a few years later, we would be looking at therapy and all kinds of problems. When I wrote this second book about children, one of the things that I did was interview children and parents and families. And when I was interviewing the parents, the last question I would always ask them was, if you could send a message back in time to your own parents about the best way to raise you, what would you tell them? And time again, I got some version of this exact same reply, which was, I just wish they had trusted who I was. And that just touched my heart so much, because that to me is what my work is really all about. Whether you're raising a child or whether you're a partner in a relationship or even working together, to know and really love, to open to that other person, to understand who they really are and to be able to allow them to be who they really are.